All right, PAD 4232 students. We're going to spend just a few minutes and discuss the budget. I've shared the Excel on Canvas with you, and I do ask that you submit your budget with this Excel sheet. This will be the one I prefer you use also when we get ready to work on the draft and the final. Set it up so that it does some of the calculations for you, maybe a few things you need to adjust. But we're going to go over it and just spend just a few minutes discussing it and how important it is for you to make sure that your budget truly shows what your expenditures will be to give your grantors that you're applying to the opportunity to understand your needs. Because when you're asking for these funds, whatever they may be, you're asking them to meet needs that you have for your organization, for your project, to get your program going or to sustain your program for a certain amount of time. So we want to make sure that we're giving them all the information that they need. So we're going to look at this. This is the first page of it. You'll notice here there is a listing under cost for personnel, MS&E, and an indirect cost. All right. So your personnel, you may not think much about personnel when it comes to these. But in a lot of programs, you do have some paid individuals that spend their time working in the program and may do so for various reasons. When you do certain types of programs, you may need someone who has a certification from a state that allows them to head that type of program or at least be on site when the program is going. If you're doing something with childcare, you're going to likely need someone who carries a certification that can be there to make sure everything is going as it should. It's helpful to have uh, these kind of people on staff, if at all possible, whether it's a part-time or full-time basis, just to have someone on staff that carries a certification in the area you're working in, or they have expertise in the area you're working in. Because when you're submitting that proposal, being able to show that you have individuals on staff who are committed to your program that have expertise in the area you're working in can be beneficial when that grantor is comparing your proposal to the proposal of the next program that they're looking at. You know, it could come down to who has experience and who shows that it's more likely for that to work than it being just a matter of who gives the best presentation. You could be on par with everyone else with your presentation and how you submitted everything. You've met all your deadlines. You've lined up your goals to make sure they match the grant or all the things we've covered in class this far. But when you get to the budget, then you're going to be able to show them line for line where that money's going. If you have personnel, show that they're getting paid. It can be helpful because that allows them to say, okay, well, this person's going to be there for a certain amount of time. They're not just popping in, they're being paid to be in this position. So if we do that and base it off of what I've got here, and this is just real quick, you can change all this out. All of these boxes can be changed, but make sure that you're showing what you're doing here. So with the scenario that I've set up, doing it for a low amount of hours a week, because a lot of programs, especially after school programs, they run for 2 or 3 hours a day. They're not a 8 hour day. So you may not have somebody on staff 8 hours a day. All the groundwork could be done by volunteers. And then when you have uh, students or children present, you have someone there who carries a certification so that it can run in the way it should. A lot of grants will require those type of things. You may have to show that you have licensing for that type of program or an approval from your county or your state for that type of program. So you want to make sure that you're showing all the pieces that you have in place. And that's good research to do before you ever even begin a program. For those of you that are doing these as a real program, this is something that you're actually working in. If you're trying to get it off the ground, it's good to do research to see what you will be able to have in place, know what you need in place, and those are the things you're going to request funds for. If you're going to have to spend money in an area, you'll need to be able to request those funds. All right, so with this one, I have $15 an hour for a manager. And you can bump all these up to match what minimum wage is if that's what you're doing, or if you already have a program established, you've gone through this. What are your actual expenditures here? So make sure that you put in those numbers. How often are they doing this? This one was a program set up for 4 weeks at 12 hours a week for each one of these uh, categories, the manager and then the two that I do not have a name for. And then letting the Excel sheet do the math for you brings it down to here. So funds that are set aside for personnel through the organization was $4,000. Well, because I went on a small setting here, I went for just a 4 week program, just a few hours a week. We didn't spend all that. So what they did was allow us to have a surplus here. So what we have is $4,000 was our existing funds for personnel. We're spending $1,720, leaving us with 2280 to be able to move forward into another area. Uh, it may not always be a case where you have extra money. Make sure that you're working your budget properly because it's a likelihood that you may not have these existing funds. I'm showing existing funds in each sheet. You'll notice when you come to each one of them, there's an existing fund. All right. You'll notice here, there is existing funds. All right. And I'm spending pretty much all of it. But as you work through the sheet, you'll notice that it moves numbers over here. All right. So total cost in the setup I had was $12,000, a little over, almost 13,000. I had $20,000 set up in current funding for this, which allowed me to have a surplus. So I wouldn't show that I needed any money here, but these are real small expenditures. I'm not showing that I'm spending a lot of money here. All right. So I need $800 to get me through on my miscellaneous stuff, my materials, my supplies, my equipment needs, those type of things. And in this one, I'm looking at one where I'm doing laptops for an after school program, or either this is for my employees that I have. They're doing that. If you were doing Chromebooks or launch books, those type of things right here, your cost would not be quite as much, but you may be doing a lot more of those. If I remember right from one of the programs, there was one to, pardon me, to supply uh, technology to students who need it or to children who need it, and the ones that fit into that demographic we're working with. And the number was a lot higher than two, I know. So that number is going to go crazy here, right? It's just going to shoot through the roof and it would blow through this 10 grand in existing funds that I have real quick. All right, then I have indirect costs. So the only thing I have here is insurance. So insurance that I have to have for whether it's a vehicle, for the building, whatever it may be, an insurance that is a policy to protect everyone who comes in. That is money that I, have a little bit of a budget for, but I'm looking at. And if you look at my total budget, what I have set up, my total budget was $20,000 that I set up here. That's likely not going to be the case for most programs. I just wanted to use numbers where I could show you, how this is going to go, what it's going to do. So we're in the good here. And personnel wise, we still had a little bit of money left over. All right. But when we consider this overall, we probably would have spent this in indirect costs because we're not including transportation costs. We're not including, if we're feeding meals, we're not including those type of things in your materials, your supplies, and other expenditures, or equipment. You could be looking at, moving through this, $10,000 pretty fast. And so you want to make sure that you're pointing all those expenses out. Like I said, all these numbers can be changed. If you change a number over here, it will change over there. So if I come in here and I add another employee in that's making $10 an hour, we're doing them at $10 a week. It's another $400. Notice that this number changed to 2,120. If I come back over to my budget page, that has now been updated to make sure all these are working. We're going to go through this for supplies. We're going to add in here. We're going to increase this laptop count to 4. All right, now we're showing we need, good amount of money here for what we're doing. That number has now increased over here. We're now showing what we need as far as our budget goes. This is where we're still good to a certain extent. All right, and then our supplies or our indirect cost. Let's say we have an indirect cost here. We'll go with the one that the 10 is already on. And let's say that indirect cost is background checks. If you're working with children in any way, no matter what age group it is, you will need background checks done for something as simple as camps, whether it is a church camp or a summer camp, whatever it may be. Anyone working there will have to have background checks. Those are not cheap. We're going to put them in for a $120 each with a multiplier of 10. So we need to look at what we're doing there. $120 each for that. So $1,200 for those. Now we've just took a lot of money out of that. So we'll need to do those. And I'm going to update this when I get through the video so that this does the math, and I'll give the new one to you on Canvas that you can use. So it does everything for you. This should be working so that those equal out. All right, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I just wanted to go through this with you and explain the importance of the budget to you. We are winding down. I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. And there you go. We're down here. And I want to go in and let's see. Look at where we're at as far as the class goes. Let's look at it from your view. All right, so we are in our budget module, which now leaves us 2 left. We have the budget that you're working on this week. You will submit it. Notice what is needed in this when you open it up. Pay close attention to your directions. The granting organization will want to see what you have and that you understand the financial side of a project. If you seem to them like you do not know how to manage your money and what is going into it, if you seem like you're not going to be able to manage this, you need to figure out how to show that you can. It is important that you can handle the funds they're giving you. Many of these organizations that grant money, these are donations that are given out of the goodness of the hearts of some people, some for a tax write-off, but from the goodness of the heart for others, for majority of people that give to these type of things. So make sure you're showing them you can be a good steward over that money. Part of your budget, when you're doing your budget, is making sure that you are being that steward that you need to be over the money that they're giving you, and you're going to spend it in the best possible way. And what is the best possible way? Well, that completely depends upon what you're doing. If you're doing a program that is doing help with homework, with technology, um, there were several that submitted about STEM projects. Those are not cheap. Nothing in STEM is going to be overly cheap. You're paying quite a bit for laptops or tablets or whatever it may be. Just a basic, simple tablet from a Walmart store is, going to run you close to $100 for one that just is small and does real basic stuff. So make sure that you're, paying attention to those numbers and show everything you need, everything you're spending, whatever it may be, put those expenditures in there. So this is the time you're going to think ahead. Anytime you're planning something like this, you need to be thinking ahead. The budget forces you to think ahead. All right. So everything from that you've done up to this point was about your organization and what your needs are. Now your budget is in front of you, and now you need to think ahead. What am I going to spend throughout this process, throughout this program? If it's a summer program, I have to cover from the end of May to the beginning of August. So I have those months in there. It comes out to about 3 months. So 3 months of, what am I doing and what am I spending? What am I going to need? What are my expectations? You know, make your expectations fully known so that you can uh, get what you need because it's a sad day when you're doing a program that is near and dear to your heart that you've put your time into, you've put your effort into, you've put off things you could have done for fun with friends or family. You have sacrificed whatever to do these type of programs because it is something that you feel needs to be done in your community, and then you run out of funding for it and can't continue it or complete it. So make sure you're thinking about everything you're going to spend and put that into your budget. And next week, when we start talking about the draft, and I'll spend some time next week really discussing your draft and how to put that together. Then we'll talk about how to explain that budget, because your budget's not only going to be the spreadsheet, which will be uh, in an extra page, it will be a explanation, a narrative of your budget. When you submit it this week, you're going to submit a narrative of the budget. Explain what is in the budget. All right, so make sure you're doing that. So when you've submitted this week, you should have two documents that you submit. It should be the Excel sheet, and I do ask that you do it either Excel, or if you're using Google for your documents or things like that, do it as a Google sheet. But as a student of Santa Fe, you get Microsoft 365 free as a student. So utilize that, and when you submit that Excel sheet and that document, that Word document, explaining what you're doing. So there should be two uploads here, and it should cover everything that you need for this assignment. Make sure you're doing good. And when I look these over, and I'll start looking these over as soon as the deadline passes. So these need to be in by this weekend. Come Monday, I will start reviewing these to make sure that we're on where we need to be. The other items so far have been something I could view, and if I need to give you feedback, I can. When we get to the budget, we need to really look at that and make sure that it is good, especially for those of you that are submitting this as a true project. So I'm going to stop that and come back over here. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions after you watch this about the assignment for this week or anything we've done up to this point, we'll be getting those graded here today, tomorrow. Most of them will be tomorrow. But if you have any questions about those, please just reach out to me, especially if when you get feedback from it, if there's some feedback you do not understand. And I'm trying to give feedback on these as I return them to you so that you understand what needs to be fixed or what could be done. A lot of it's going to be once you put that first draft together, and I can read through those and then look them over and give you some pointers with those. But for right now, just concentrate on this budget, getting it submitted. Spend some time on it. Please don't wait till the last minute to do this. Spend some time making sure that you have what you need with it. And like I said, as soon as I get through with this, I'm going to go back into that Excel sheet, fix a couple of little links that seem to not be working. It should be, so that you can have it to as you move forward and use it for this assignment without it being any issues. So until next week, stay safe and study hard.